Creatures from the deep. In the gloomy abyss of the world's deepest oceans, where sunlight dares not venture, an ancient horror stirred. For millennia, it had slumbered in the cold, crushing depths, hidden from the eyes of humanity and undisturbed by the passage of time. But now, driven by the relentless warming of the planet's waters, a cataclysmic shift had awakened it. This is a story of prehistoric creatures emerging from the ocean's abyss, brought to the surface by the devastating effects of global warming. Our story begins with Dr. Elena Harris, a marine biologist dedicated to studying the impact of climate change on oceanic ecosystems. Her research vessel, the Calypso, was equipped with the latest technology for deep-sea exploration. Dr. Harris and her team had observed unusual temperature spikes in regions that were previously considered too hostile for complex life forms. It was during one of their expeditions near the Mariana Trench that they first detected anomalies on their sonar, large, moving objects that defied any known marine species patterns. The crew was abuzz with excitement and speculation. Had they discovered a new species? The potential scientific breakthrough was exhilarating. Yet, as they ventured deeper into the abyss, an unsettling silence fell over the Calypso. The ocean's perpetual darkness was oppressive, and the further they descended, the more the temperature readings confounded them. Then, without warning, their vessel was violently jolted. Alarms blared as the crew scrambled to stabilize the Calypso, but it was as if the very sea itself had turned against them. The sonar screen flickered erratically, showing glimpses of creatures of impossible size encircling them. These were behemoths from a bygone era, awakened from their ancient slumber by the changing seas. Their forms were like nothing recorded in modern science, massive, serpentine bodies with scales that shimmered in the faint light of the submersible's lamps, and eyes that glowed with a haunting, predatory intelligence. Dr. Harris and her team realized they had made a grave mistake. Their intrusion had disturbed these giants of the deep, and now they were the hunted. The Calypso was battered relentlessly, its hull groaning under the assault of the prehistoric leviathans. In a desperate bid for survival, Dr. Harris ordered the submersible to ascend, hoping to escape into the relative safety of shallower waters. But as they fled, one creature, larger and more fearsome than the rest, pursued them with terrifying speed. The chase was frenetic and fraught with peril. The Calypso sustained heavy damage, its systems failing one by one under the creature's onslaught. In the end, as they neared the safety of the ocean's surface, a colossal impact sent the vessel tumbling end over end. Dr. Harris and her team were thrown into darkness as the power went out, and the pressure began to crush the hull. In those final moments, as the Calypso was about to implode, Dr. Harris's thoughts were not of fear or regret but of a profound sadness for the world above. Humanity had pushed the planet to its limits, and now, it seemed, the ancient guardians of the deep were awakened to reclaim it. The ocean's depths swallowed the Calypso whole, leaving no trace of the vessel or its crew, just an eerie silence that marked the tragic end of their expedition. In the suffocating darkness of the deep, with the Calypso on the brink of collapse, Dr. Elena Harris, her fingers trembling but her resolve steel, activated the vessel's last safety feature. A series of bright, emergency balloons deployed from the submersible, their purpose to rapidly ascend the vessel to the ocean's surface. The crew, battered and bruised, watched in silence as the balloons filled, lifting them from the grasp of the abyssal depths. But their respite was short-lived. The creature, an ancient leviathan roused from its eons-long slumber, was not deterred. Its colossal form moved with a grace that belied its gargantuan size, a nightmare born from the world's primordial past. With terrifying precision, it began to target the balloons. One by one, they were torn apart by its monstrous appendages, each destruction bringing the Calypso closer to the ocean's unforgiving embrace. Dr. Harris and her crew watched in horror as their last hope of survival was systematically obliterated. The submersible, now only partially buoyant, began its uneven ascent, each lost balloon making their journey to the surface more desperate. The interior of the Calypso was a cacophony of warning signals and the sound of metal groaning under pressure. With the surface tantalizingly close, the realization dawned on Dr. Harris that the vessel would not survive intact. She made the call to evacuate. The crew donned their survival suits, designed to withstand the extreme pressures and temperatures of the deep sea, and prepared to abandon the Calypso. As they opened the escape hatch, the cold, dark water of the deep rushed in, a stark reminder of the perilous environment they were escaping. One by one, they exited the vessel, using personal propulsion devices to ascend the final distance to the surface. Dr. Harris was the last to leave, casting one final glance at the Calypso, her home and her prison in the deep. As she ascended, she could see the creature, its massive form enveloping the submersible. With a final, disdainful flick of its tail, it destroyed the last balloon. The Calypso, now unrecoverable, began its slow descent back into the abyss, to become another forgotten relic of the deep. Dr. Harris and her crew surfaced, gasping for air, the warmth of the sun on their faces a stark contrast to the cold, dark world below. They were alive, against all odds, but their relief was tempered by the knowledge of what they had unleashed. The world above was unaware of the horrors that lurked in the depths, ancient creatures awakened by human folly. The balance of the planet had been disturbed, and now, there was no telling what consequences would follow. Rescued by the support ship, the survivors of the Calypso returned to a world that seemed oblivious to the impending threat. Dr. Harris tried to warn them. Her accounts of the Leviathan and its destruction of the Calypso met with skepticism and disbelief. The ocean's depths had protected its secrets well, and without evidence, her warnings were regarded as the traumatized ramblings of a survivor of a deep-sea accident. But deep in her heart, Dr. Harris knew the truth. The creature that had destroyed the Calypso was but one of many, guardians of a world humanity was never meant to disturb. Their awakening was a harbinger of the consequences of environmental recklessness, a warning that went unheeded. As the world continued its course, oblivious to the danger that lurked beneath the waves, Dr. Harris could only wait and prepare. The ancient leviathans of the deep were awake, and humanity would soon learn the price of disturbing the balance of the natural world. The tale of the Calypso and its encounter with the ancient guardian of the depths served as a tragic reminder of the delicate interplay between humanity and the environment, a balance that, once disturbed, could unleash forces beyond our comprehension. In the weeks following the tragic fate of the Calypso, the world began to witness a series of inexplicable phenomena in the vast oceans that surround its continents. Ships vanished without a trace, their final communications filled with panic and fragmented descriptions of immense creatures emerging from the depths. Coastal fishermen reported sightings of monsters with eyes like lighthouses, capable of stirring the waters like storms. These reports, once dismissed as maritime legends, began to be viewed in a new light of veracity, spreading fear and uncertainty throughout the international maritime community. The growing threat from the seas not only rekindled ancient fears but also had a devastating impact on international trade. Major maritime routes, vital arteries for the flow of goods between nations, became zones of danger, blocked by creatures that seemed to defy modern understanding. The cost of maritime freight skyrocketed, alternatives for transportation became overloaded and inefficient, leading to an unprecedented global economic crisis. Shortages of basic resources and rising prices triggered conflicts over natural wealth, plunging the world into a period of hardship and wars. Nations struggled to adapt to this new reality, where the seas, once pathways of connection and trade, turned into insurmountable barriers, guarded by prehistoric terrors awakened to reclaim the planet's blue depths. And so, the world was left to wonder what other secrets lay hidden in the ocean's abyss, waiting for the folly of man to awaken them. The awakening from the depths had begun, and it was only a matter of time before the ancient creatures made their presence known again. In their wake, they would leave a trail of devastation, a tragic reminder of the delicate balance that once existed and the peril of its disruption. The ocean's depths held a warning. Humanity was not the master of this planet but merely a part of its intricate web of life, vulnerable to the consequences of its actions. Dare to venture into the unknown. Join us on a journey where shadows whisper and secrets lurk. Subscribe now and ring the bell to summon fresh mysteries directly to your screen every few days. Ignore this call, and be warned, an eternal curse awaits those who wander in the dark, unguided. Do you have the courage to face the unknown? Your adventure begins with a click. Welcome to the realm where every notification brings you closer to the abyss. Subscribe, if you dare.